Hello and welcome back to the Football Forecast. We have a huge topic to discuss and we've got a huge debut as well. Liam, how are you, bro?
Good, I'm glad to be here. Looking forward to it. Some big questions that we're going to be going through. So yeah, glad to be here.
Absolutely. Kweku's here as always. The big burning question here is, Argentina have somehow managed to take top spot in their group, which was chaotic, by the way. Saudi Arabia scoring for no reason whatsoever against Mexico. Have Argentina potentially turned a corner? They obviously had that difficult start against Saudi, just about squeezed past Mexico, and then beat Poland, who didn't look very interested in playing any sort of football. Would you say, does it feel like they're going in the right direction?
I'm going to be completely honest. I know that it's a team that a lot of people rooted for. Argentina, they don't move me at all. They are a team that came into this tournament with a lot of hype. I don't know, I don't see it. I've been very, very disappointed with their midfield. De Paul has been one of the most underwhelming players of this tournament. And like you say, against Poland, there was a Poland team that weren't very interested. So it was almost a giver for Argentina to win that game. Obviously, the shock against Saudi Arabia was probably one of the biggest World Cup shocks of all time. And then sneaked past Mexico with a bit of Messi magic. So I know the results have gone their way and they've ended up topping their group, but they're not that impressive. And of course, when you've got a team with Lionel Messi, you've always got a chance. But I don't see them progressing, especially if they come up against a team that have got more talented players and a little bit more well drilled as well.
Yeah, I don't think they've looked that coherent so far. They've kind of, the passing's been a bit off, and the turnovers, especially in that Saudi Arabia game, were massive. But you say turn a corner. It's a team who went unbeaten for over 35 games. So I don't think it's turned a corner. I think they briefly went the wrong way and just did a rapid U-turn and they're back on track. But you say that you've not been moved by them, and that's completely understandable. I don't think anyone can say that Argentina game is someone who people should be frightened of, judging it on this World Cup. But the habit of winning, which is something they've had now for a long period of time, you don't lose that over. They've had a blip of form, but they've topped a group at a World Cup. And you might say Messi magic in that game. You might say they've scraped through. They've not. I'd take scraping through winning games and getting into the knockouts, having that habit of winning trophies. So I think they can't be written off just yet.
I think the other interesting thing is to take on Australia, which is, for a lot of people might say the dream draw, but Australia will sit deep, just like Mexico did, just like Poland did. I actually thought Saudi were the best fit to play against Argentina. They're aggressive, they played the high line. But Australia will sit in, meaning Argentina's midfield that we've just criticised will have to try and find a way through them. But they've tinkered with their midfield a few times. The last game, obviously, it was Enzo Fernandez and McAllister, who seemed to play as like almost like a bit of an old school Frank Lampard, arriving late in the box. Whereas for Brighton, he sits in. Then you've got Enzo, 21 years of age, who's been lighting up for Benfica. £100 million buyout clause for any Premier League club watching this and thinking they want to sign him. Not like you wouldn't already know it's £100 million buyout clause. But do you think this midfield could be the route to getting the best out of Messi and therefore getting the best out of Argentina?
Yeah, I think for Argentina, if you're hearing a team's going to sit in like Australia, which we're assuming they will, I think that's great. I think Saudi Arabia shocked everyone. They pressed. It was the highest line in world football I've ever seen, and they worked harder than any team I've ever seen. That was one on heart, that was one on passion, and it was one on the occasion, and it was one of the best moments from any World Cup. But I think Argentina will enjoy a team sitting in. If you're not going to rush Messi, you're allowing him to pick up pockets. You're allowing him to pick up space, and that's when he hurts teams. So I think it will suit them well that if Australia do just sit in and aren't super aggressive.
I think with the sitting in, you had the Mexico sitting in, which was aggressive on Messi. I think they had 2 or 3 players around him constantly, whereas Poland sat off and
passive.
They were passive. Messi was just picking up pockets everywhere. I feel like Australia will do the Mexico version with a bit of counter-attack as well.
That's it. They offer that counter-attacking threat. For me as well, I think it's important for Argentina that Julian Alvarez got on the score sheet in that start. He's a player that's going to be very effective for them, especially because Di Maria looks like a shadow of his former self. Lautaro Martinez is a lot of people's picks for Golden Boot. He missed a gilt-edged chance in that game. And so they're going to have to find goals from other places in the pitch. And the fact that Julian Alvarez, who a lot of people have been clamouring for to start for Argentina, the fact that he got on the score sheet is going to be very important for them, especially trying to unlock a stubborn Australian defence who are going to make it very, very difficult for them and probably pinpoint Lionel Messi.
You mentioned Di Maria. I think he's had a hard ride this tournament. I think his end product's not been maybe consistent, but there's glimpses, the outside of the foot cross into a dangerous area. He's still got that ability in moments to create chances. And I think they're balls where if he plays those passes for his club, someone's on the end of them and they're going in the goal. So I think as much as it's Di Maria, he has fallen off. how old is he? He must be
31,
32. He's going to have some drop off. But in
Yeah.
terms of those moments where you need a bit of quality, I think he's still got it. And I think it's up to some of the other Argentina players to maybe step up and maybe work a bit harder off the ball for those types of players. Because I think that's the thing for Argentina that I found not good and not at the level it needs to be, is the work rate just didn't seem to be there off the ball.
Yeah.
And I think that's the one thing that maybe as the tournament progresses and now they've got their confidence back that they need to get back is that yard off the ball to make an angle or get on the end of something.
I think the midfield is the topic here, where I think they brought in McAllister, and I think what he gave them was a presence, someone who can play in both boxes, but also someone who wants to get stuck in. I just felt they were soft in both games, which is not something you associate with Argentina. Practically the only player who loves a tackle at the moment is Otamendi, but that's never going to change. Then on the flip side, and this is why we're talking about this, because we are all dreaming of Argentina against Portugal in the final. And Portugal, I think, have proven a lot of people wrong. I think we all went into this tournament feeling as though they're going to be all right, but Ronaldo's going to be a downer on them. James Allcott was sat on this seat right here saying Ronaldo's going to drag that team down. I'd rather argue the contrary. That midfield that they've got, Bernardo Silva, Ruben Neves, William Carvalho, surprised he still gets in there, to be honest.
I love the fact that William Carvalho still turns out Portugal every tournament. I don't know what he's doing in the club level, but every international tournament he turns out and he performs. And Portugal are always set up pragmatically, and they're set up for tournament football. So if you've got a predator like Ronaldo, and I know he tried to steal that Bruno Fernandes goal. He probably to this day is still claiming that it's his goal. When you've got a predator in the box like Ronaldo, you know what his strengths are. And you've got that midfield that's got that perfect balance and blend. Then you've got a chance in this tournament. And I do think that Portugal have gone under the radar a little bit in terms of people before the tournament thought that Ronaldo was going to be a distraction, didn't know how Bruno Fernandes was going to perform. And it's kind of clicked for them. I know they haven't played against the greatest sides in the world. The game against Ghana could have gone either way. They almost let it slip right to the end, and Uruguay looked poor, and Portugal managed to get over the line against them. But those are the kind of teams that you just have to watch carefully as the knockout phases progress, because I like what they're building and I like the way that they're built.
Yeah, it's a team full of world-class players. Not even mentioned Cancelo out wide. When you've got those players you've got world-class players in every sort of area of the pitch for Portugal, and I think they are starting to re-gel. But like I've said, they're a team who's used to winning, and the abilities of Ronaldo always give you a chance. And yeah, I think Portugal are bubbling something special.
You touched on Bruno Fernandes. He has been unbelievable this tournament. He's not my favourite player in the world. If you follow me on Twitter, you know I get on his case quite a bit. But I think what they've managed to do is say to him, you don't need to try and find the killer pass every few minutes. Try and minimise that, but maximise the quality. And it's actually worked. Against Uruguay, made 5 passes into the final third. And it felt as though everything they did that was sort of cohesive and had rhythm came through Bruno Fernandes, whereas previously, especially at Manchester United, that's quite the opposite. He actually sort of spoils the rhythm a little bit. With that midfield blend of Bernardo Silva, Ruben Neves, Bruno Fernandes, William Carvalho, they also have options off the bench. There's players that are not getting game time because of how good that midfield is. You have to say, if Ronaldo and João Felix can continue to score, they can continue to break teams down, Portugal probably have the most balanced, best team in the tournament.
Yeah, 100%. And like you said, on the Bruno Fernandes point, I think having that perfect midfield blend of Neves and of Silva and of Carvalho, it almost brings a sense of calm to Bruno Fernandes. Because like you say, at Manchester United, a lot of it's hero ball. He's trying that Hollywood pass. He's trying to make things happen. But I think he's got faith in his teammates. And obviously, international football is a little bit slower. And I think it lends itself to his game. And he seems happy. He seems confident. And the team seems to be gelling quite well. So I do think he'll be a fulcrum in terms of Portugal progressing, because he can also give you those moments. As well as Ronaldo, Bruno Fernandes is a player of moments. And he'll have to be on song if they want to progress to the latter stages of this competition. But I really like what I'm seeing for Portugal at the moment.
We've found our way from Argentina to Portugal to this part of the meat that we want to talk about. The ultimate GOAT. It could be Messi against Ronaldo. Talk to me about who you're backing, because you're a football purist. You play the game.
It's fairy tale stuff, that game, if it happens. If England aren't to progress, that is the fixture before the World Cup that everyone wanted to see and wants to see. I think secretly, low key, if your country goes out, you're like,
Yeah.
let's make that game happen.
Some people won't even admit it, but even if the country's still in it, they still want to see a Messi Ronaldo.
Yeah, it's there. But in terms of the debate, who's the ultimate GOAT? He's going to disagree with me, but for me, it's Lionel Messi. I love him. he's a player who I've been to see him play, and 22 world-class players on the pitch. You spend the whole 95 minutes watching him, and there's very few players I think who have got that ability. And when you go and witness what he can do and see what he can do in the flesh, he plays football in a different way. He's not high tempo for 95 minutes. He's maybe high tempo for a burst of 10 seconds, and in those 10 seconds causes just mayhem, goals, assists. I think he's unbelievable, and I think we should be lucky to see both of them, but just a little bit luckier to see Lionel Messi.
I feel like this argument or this debate arises because of how split they are, how different they are. Ronaldo with that personality, and he lets you know how good he is. Messi a little bit more diminutive, and the way they play as well. Ronaldo's more of a finisher and more aggressive, and Messi's got the nuance to his games. The clubs they play for, Barcelona and Real Madrid, they're like complete opposites. But Bet365 did conduct a fan survey before the tournament, and they asked fans who they'd rather see win the World Cup. And I think a lot of them agree with you. 41.47% of fans would rather see Messi win it. 29.87% said they'd rather see Ronaldo win it, whilst 12.79% said they didn't want either of them to win it. And I reckon they're probably Neymar and the Brazil fans. And it's just, I don't know, Messi's the kind of guy, especially if you ask people out in Qatar, his face is everywhere, his plastered everywhere. It seems like the narrative is there and set for him to complete his legacy and win that World Cup. So I can understand why the majority of fans would like to see him kind of complete his story arc.
Is it Ronaldo's like the villain that you want to get away with it, and Messi's the super?
Kind of. We talked about it before on one of the shows in terms of Ronaldo being fueled and feeding off of the hate that people had been giving him off the back of the interview that he did, basically that exit interview from Manchester United. And I've always been a Ronaldo guy. It's heart over head, really. Ronaldo's been the guy that I've kind of latched onto out of those two. But my head, I know what I see. I know ball. Messi's a better player. Ronaldo's just giving me more of those moments that I can kind of cling on to, though.
I mean, he's sucked into the zoo.
I'll get up and start doing it now if you're not careful.
The stats are absolutely insane. Some of the all-time records. Ronaldo is the first player to score in 5 World Cups. I mean, that is a testament to his longevity and how long he's been about. Messi has scored in 4 World Cups with a total of 8 goals, which is placed him on par with Diego Maradona. Also very, very decent. There will be some Argentinians out there saying, until he doesn't win the World Cup, he doesn't touch Maradona. Ronaldo has a goal every 205 minutes, while Messi has a goal every 237 minutes. I mean, that in itself is crazy. There's only 32 minutes that split them. However, Messi has 6 World Cup assists, and therefore his goal contributions land at 100 every 135 minutes, whilst Ronaldo's is 164. It's still so tight. We're all English or England fans here, so we're all siding with Messi. Does the general public, well, apart from Kweku's kind of like a Messi side, but does the general public back Messi as well?
No, so if you look at the Bet365 Fan Nation survey that was conducted before the tournament, if you're asking England fans, 38.05% of England fans want Messi to win the World Cup and take it home to Argentina, while 34.51% have chosen Cristiano Ronaldo. Again, all these stats are so close, and 10.62% of fans said they wouldn't want either of them to lift the World Cup. So again, they're either Brazil fans or England fans.
Well, to be fair, England fans, over, my maths isn't wonderful, over 75% have backed Messi or Ronaldo while being England fans. Yeah. Surely it should be 75% back England. Anyway.
Well, that just shows the level of the greatness, I think. That you can get behind those two. But when you're getting into the discussion of greats, it always becomes so tribal. Like, I probably act like I hate Ronaldo. I love him. Numbers he's put up are unbelievable. But if you've got to ask the question, you've got to give an answer, then it's Lionel Messi. The things that fella can do is...
Well, you said it perfectly, tribal, and it's partisan. It's almost like you're supporting a political party. You're either Messi or Ronaldo, and you can be both. You can be both, but the way that they've kind of taken football to a different level, all the Ballon d'Ors, all the stats that they've broken that will probably never be matched. It's just, we have to be grateful, and now it's coming to a head at the World Cup, and fingers crossed we can get that, if England don't make it, or Ghana, to the World Cup final, then hopefully we get Portugal versus Argentina in the World Cup finals to kind of complete that story.
And when they retire, we'll be left with memories and numbers. And if you look at numbers, the next two up, let's say it's Mbappe and Haaland, not touching them. They're not getting near the numbers of those two. And they're both world-class players who are going to be at the top of the game for the next 10, 15 years. And they won't get near it.
No.
So at least we're left with that.
All right. Emotional end. Let us know who is your GOAT in the comments below.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.